The Haunting of Room 302. As the school year approached its end, excitement filled the air with whispers of summer break. Yet, in the heart of the school, one classroom stood shrouded in mystery, Room 302. Tales of flickering lights and eerie sounds had circulated for years, but they were often dismissed as mere legends, until one fateful night. On a cold Friday evening, Mia found herself alone, staying late to finish an art project. The hallways echoed with silence, and shadows stretched across the floors as night descended. When she realized she'd left her math book in room 302, a wave of hesitation washed over her. The thought of venturing into the infamous room sent a shiver down her spine, but the looming deadline pushed her forward. As she ascended to the third floor, an unsettling quiet enveloped her. The lights flickered intermittently, but she brushed off her unease. Approaching room 302, she noticed the door slightly ajar, inviting her in. With a deep breath, she pushed it open and stepped inside. The room lay cloaked in darkness, illuminated only by the faint glow of streetlights outside, casting long shadows. Mia quickly spotted her book on a desk at the back and hurried toward it. Just as her fingers brushed its cover, a soft whisper crept through the air, calling her name. She froze, her heart racing, and glanced around, empty. Trying to shake it off, she clutched her book and turned to leave. Then came a sound, the unmistakable scraping of a desk being dragged across the floor. She turned slowly. All the desks remained in their places, but the whispering intensified, echoing around her, "Mia, Mia." Fear surged through her as she rushed for the door, but the handle refused to budge. Panic gripped her as she yanked and pulled, but it felt as if the door had been sealed by an unseen force. The whisper morphed into soft, haunting laughter that chilled her to the core. Desperate, she glanced out the window, hoping for a familiar sight, but was met with an abyss of darkness, an endless void swallowing the schoolyard. In a corner, she clutched her book tightly as the air turned frigid. Shadows twisted and coiled, and one detached from the rest, growing taller and more defined. It formed the silhouette of a young girl, her face hidden by long, dark hair and dressed in an old-fashioned school uniform. The figure stood still, head tilted, studying Mia intently. Mia's breath caught as the girl raised a hand, pointing at her. "Why are you here?" the ghostly voice whispered, a mix of sorrow and accusation. I just needed my book," Mia stammered, her voice trembling. The girl remained motionless, her hollow gaze piercing through the gloom. In a voice filled with anguish, she replied, "You shouldn't have come. This is my room now." Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, and a cold wind swept through the room. Desks rattled, the walls creaked, and the whispering surged into a cacophony. Overwhelmed, Mia screamed, clutching her ears to block out the noise. Just when she thought she would be lost forever, the door behind her flew open with a resounding bang. Seizing the moment, Mia dashed through the doorway, her heart racing as she fled down the hall. She didn't stop until she burst outside, gasping in the cool night air. Only then did she allow herself to look back, the school looming ominously in the darkness. The next day, Mia recounted her harrowing experience to her friends, but they dismissed her claims as stress or vivid imagination. Yet, Mia knew the truth. Room 302 was haunted, and the whispers were more than just tales. Something, or someone, was trapped within its walls, waiting for the next curious soul to cross its threshold. From that day forward, Mia never lingered after school again. Room 302 remained as it had always been, silent, empty, and filled with secrets, a dark reminder of the night when she learned that some doors are best left closed. Willow High stood at the end of a winding road, shrouded in mist. The school had a dark history, rumors of a tragic accident in the old science lab where a student had vanished without a trace. Now, as the last bell rang, few dared to linger after hours, but a group of friends decided to test their courage one fateful night. They arrived just as the sun dipped below the horizon, the building looming ominously against the darkening sky. The group giggled nervously, but excitement pulsed through them. They dared each other to explore the abandoned lab, its doors sealed for years, rumored to be the heart of the school's haunting. As they approached the lab, a chill swept through the air. The heavy door creaked open unexpectedly, revealing a room coated in dust and cobwebs. Old lab equipment lay scattered, forgotten. A feeling of unease settled over them, but they pressed on, drawn by curiosity. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them. Panic set in. They rushed to the door, but it wouldn't budge. Whispers began to fill the room, soft, insistent voices that seemed to echo off the walls. "Help us, help us." One friend, Sarah, noticed a flickering light in the corner. She approached it, discovering a broken microscope still connected to a power source. As she touched it, the whispers grew louder, morphing into screams. "Get out! Get out!" Terrified, the group turned to find shadowy figures emerging from the corners of the lab. They were the lost souls of the students, their faces twisted in agony, reaching out as if begging for release. The air grew colder, and a heavy dread filled the room. Desperate to escape, they pounded on the door, their hearts racing. Just as they thought all hope was lost, Sarah spotted a small window high on the wall. "We can climb out," she shouted. They scrambled toward it, but the shadows closed in, dragging at their feet. One by one, they made it to the window, but Sarah was pulled back by a cold grip. "No! I won't leave you," one friend cried. But it was too late. The shadows engulfed her, and her scream echoed through the lab, chilling them to their core. With tears streaming down their faces, the remaining friends squeezed through the window and tumbled into the night. They ran, hearts pounding, not daring to look back. They didn't stop until they reached the safety of the streetlights, gasping for breath. Days passed, but Sarah was never seen again. The friends tried to tell their story, but no one believed them. They could still hear her voice, pleading from the depths of Willow High. The school remained silent, its secrets locked away, waiting for the next group of curious souls to wander in. From that day on, the friends vowed never to return. Willow High stood hauntingly beautiful, a dark reminder of the night they learned that some doors should never be opened, and some spirits should never be disturbed. The Curse of Blackwood Academy. Blackwood Academy was an elite school nestled in the woods, known for its prestigious reputation and ancient architecture. However, hidden beneath its polished facade lay dark secrets and whispered rumors of a curse that plagued the school for generations. As the new semester began, a group of students, Lila, Jake, and Mia, decided to explore the rumors. They had heard tales of the old library, where students claimed to hear eerie whispers after hours. Determined to uncover the truth, they stayed late one evening, armed with flashlights and a growing sense of dread. The library was vast and shadowy, filled with towering bookshelves and dusty tomes. As they walked deeper inside, the air grew thick and heavy, and a chill settled in. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the creaking of the wooden floorboards beneath their feet. Suddenly, they heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible at first. "Leave, now." The friends exchanged nervous glances, but curiosity pushed them forward. They followed the sound, winding through the maze of bookshelves until they reached a secluded corner. There, they discovered an ancient, leather-bound book resting on a pedestal, its pages yellowed with age. Jake reached out to open it, but as he did, the temperature plummeted, and the lights flickered ominously. The whispers grew louder, swirling around them. "You shouldn't have come." Lila's heart raced as she urged them to leave, but Mia insisted on reading the book. As she flipped through the pages, strange symbols and dark incantations filled their sight. Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the library, extinguishing their flashlights. They were plunged into darkness. In the pitch black, panic set in. The whispers escalated into frantic screams, and the shadows around them seemed to move and twist. Just then, a ghostly figure appeared, hovering above the book, a girl in an old-fashioned school uniform, her eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. "Help me," she pleaded, her voice echoing with despair. "I'm trapped, because of the curse." The friends stood frozen, fear paralyzing them. Lila wanted to flee, but Mia, entranced, asked how they could help. "You must complete the ritual," the ghost whispered. "But it comes with a price." Before they could respond, the library trembled, books flying off the shelves and swirling around them. They felt the pull of the curse, a dark force wrapping around their minds, whispering promises of power and knowledge. Realizing the danger, Jake shouted for them to run. They sprinted toward the exit, dodging flying books and the specter's anguished wails. As they reached the door, Lila glanced back. The ghost's face twisted in agony, and the book emitted a blinding light. With one final push, they burst outside, gasping for breath. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, but the echo of the ghost's voice lingered in their minds. They vowed never to return to the library, the weight of the curse hanging heavy on their hearts. Days passed, and the school continued as if nothing had happened. Yet, every night, Lila and her friends were haunted by dreams of the ghost, her eyes filled with sorrow and longing. They couldn't shake the feeling that they had left something unfinished. One evening, driven by a mix of guilt and curiosity, they returned to Blackwood Academy, determined to confront the curse once and for all. They entered the library, the air thick with anticipation. As they approached the book, they realized that the only way to break the curse was to sacrifice their deepest fears. With trembling hands, they placed their fears into the book, and in an instant, the shadows recoiled. The ghost reappeared, a look of gratitude on her face. "You have freed me," she whispered, before dissolving into a cascade of light. As dawn broke over Blackwood Academy, the friends felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The curse had been lifted, but they would never forget the haunting presence of the library and the girl who had needed their help. They left the school that day, a bond forged in terror, knowing that some stories are best left in the shadows.